Lucas, thank you very much for that report. So back to the protests in Iran. My next guest says the U.S. should support these protesters in their fight against the Iranian regime, but that does not mean American boots on the ground. With us here in studio is Iran Program Senior Director and Senior Fellow for the Foundation of Defensive Democracies, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Welcome in.
Great to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. So I've followed the situation in Iran for many years, and from time to time you see these types of popular uprisings against this very evil regime. And it's encouraging, it's inspiring, it's courageous, but without fail, they get brutally and violently suppressed by the regime. Is there reason to believe that this time might be different?
Well, it's an excellent question because for about 8 years now, the pattern of street protests against the state has not been to seek some policy adjustment or incremental reform. What the street is seeking against the state is wholesale revolution. You have an Islamist autocracy suppressing a secular nationalist population. Those two things are like oil and water. They don't mix. And the population is unarmed and the regime is armed to the teeth. And when it loses wars abroad, it comes home to crack skulls, just like it's been doing after the 12-day war. What potentially makes this different, among many other short-term factors, is that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, this morning has decisively said on Truth Social that the U.S. would get involved. And even if one believes this is merely political, I'm looking at all the other Western leaders here who have said absolutely nothing in support of the Iranian people. And just this statement alone is wind beneath the wings of protesters who've been on the streets now for 6 days and counting, protesting and striking against this regime in its entirety. So the president's words and potentially the president's actions could make this a game changer.
So Masih Alinejad is a very prominent Iranian American. She lives here. The regime actually tried to murder her here in the United States.
To kidnap her? And
yep, they've tried and they've luckily failed. She was on the story last hour with Bill Malugin filling in for Martha McCallum. Here's what she said about that message from the U.S. president and how it's landing on the ground in Iran.
The message, the strong message of President Trump gave hope to people of Iran. And right after his tweet, people in Tehran and across Iran, other cities, they poured into the street. They took back to the street. Massive number, large number. That actually shows that the people of Iran took that strong message seriously, and they believe that the United States of America is serious of warning the Islamic Republic that opened fire on innocent protesters.
All right, so you agree with the sentiment, I know, but what could U.S. involvement on behalf of these protesters actually look like if it's not military intervention?
Well, there's military interventions and military interventions, but there's a lot Trump can do to level the playing field between the street and the state. The first is to make sure that because there are internet blackouts, that the regime actually doesn't have the telecommunication edge against the protesters. One is to help with VPNs. Two is to help with satellite communications, potentially getting Starlink into the hands of the Iranian people so they can continue to share their pictures and their protests as well as communicate with one another. The next, of course, is to potentially go in on the cyber side, on the tech side, and blind Iran's repression apparatus, to blind the besieged, to disable their communications. The fourth could be to actually give, moral and political support to Iranian protesters by hacking into Iranian state TV and playing patriotic and anti-regime notes. A lot of this stuff would actually, again, put wind beneath the wings of Iranian protesters and allow them to organize. And if they want to take a page from the Israelis and live up to the kinetic side of President Trump's message, they could target the apparatus of repression, target the besieged bases, target the law enforcement forces, if, again, the president is willing to pull the trigger. But if you are the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran and you're dealing with President Trump, you better bet that he might pull the trigger, because this is now the 5-year anniversary of Trump pulling the trigger against the regime's chief terrorist, Qasem Soleimani, in January 2020.
Yeah, well, the regime already lashing out, making counter threats about U.S. service members in that region. It's a huge story that I think is getting not nearly enough attention in the West. So thank you for coming in and shedding some light for us.
Thank you.
All right. When we return, Elon Musk warning that America would be, quote, toast if the radical left wins. His efforts to back Republicans